You, our loyal viewers, had a lot of thoughts when the judge in the Bryan Kohberger case said he didn't really know where his power started and ended.
So do the viewers know where his power starts and ends? Let's see what you guys think. What powers does the judge have in this case? I'm Lainey Law.
And I'm attorney Andrew Myers.
And you guys had some strong feelings to our last Kohberger episode. So in our Kohberger compelling evidence video, one of the first comments we even got from Busted Flush was JJJ is underestimating his power unless the university owns him too, which is starting off very strong.
We have a comment from MM-VK9RB, great name, who says, so how was this going to trial last year? This is a disgrace, and it clearly apparent the state has a weak case. I can't believe someone is sitting in jail while this circus continues. And then Bonita Shuck said he should be out of jail and prosecutors should get the right suspect. Yeah, we get those comments. We got those comments, but they did establish probable cause, even though the prosecutor apparently has now, according to the response of Ann Taylor, said that the probable cause affidavit is now irrelevant. They did go ahead and get the indictment by the grand jury, so they do have grounds to keep him in jail. But this is the type of thought that we have been seeing a lot of.
And I do want to add to where it's a case like this where it's so messy because it's people are very grateful that he's away because, you know, as divided as our audience is, people are going to think that he's guilty and it's like, okay, well, good, he's locked away. But then obviously, like, other people are like, what do they have? He has a white Elantra and he has bushy eyebrows. It's just like, we don't even know where this person is. Yeah. So it's just like, do we even have the right person? Is the actual criminal laying low? It's a lot of very divided feelings on this. So, you know, understand where those comments come from. So Cynthia Fain, I think that Cyray would not have given those percentages unless he had some kind of specific data that he felt could accurately draw those conclusions upon. This was, I think, he was saying around 3% or something. This could ruin his integrity as a defense witness if he could not back up his words with facts. Wouldn't the prosecution have questioned Cyray about those percentages if they felt he could not back it up? And I do want to add on to that as well, where, you know, they could have done a cross-examination and Tony Stevenson, the prosecution didn't ask questions because they know Cy is way beyond them in articulation and comprehension. And I do think that when it comes to technology, something with this case that has been interesting me is because even I, as someone who's a little more techie minded, forget that a lot of this is like a whole different language to other people. So
I'll have to admit that I had to watch Cyray's testimony twice, and some parts of it 3 times before I really got it. I think I do get it now, but I mean, I'm not the prosecutor. I have a job. I'm here in my office and I take time away. I'm not a full-timer on YouTube. And so I can't do this full. But if I were the full-time prosecutor, it would have been my job to do a little bit of research on Cyray. In a previous episode, we talked about a couple of cases. There are a ton of cases out there that talk about Mr. Ray. And yes, he's on other channels of YouTube. You don't have to tell us that below because we're well aware of that. If I were the prosecutor, I would have brushed up on Cyray. And in my humble opinion, and it's only my humble opinion, you're damn straight I would have cross-examined the guy, and it was their job, and they failed. That was a failure to not cross-examine Ray because this case, somebody's life is on the line. The prosecutor has the burden of proof to show, every element of the crime. And so for them to have that opportunity before the trial, this was only a hearing on a motion to compel, but for them to blow this opportunity to not cross-examine him, in my view, was a huge tactical and strategical error.
yeah, I'm definitely on the same page with you as that, because it's just like all they had to do was ask a couple questions. It's just like at all, even if you're not that proficient, it's just like, do these lugs exist? Yes or no? Can you say for a fact? It's like I'm not prosecution. I can't even think of a couple questions. I'm sure they should have had a million, in my opinion.
Well, you can do research. I mean, my point was that there's a lot of material out there about him. He even has his own, I hate to, blow the horn of another creator, because I want all of our viewers to stay here. But he has his own social media page. He has his own podcast that he does. And there are a ton of cases out there that at great length go through his software. So all you had to do is over the lunch hour, pick up some of these cases and read them and brief them, or have one of your interns or paralegals read them and brief them. And you could have come up with dozens of questions for him. So, all right. Let's take a look at this next person, and their name is Ian Kinzel.
I tried to make it.
I can see it.
Okay.
There's a really straightforward explanation for Cy Ray saying, everything I see is exculpatory. And Ian Taylor's saying, states withheld everything exculpatory. Cy Ray's looking at data provided from law enforcement from the state because they all thought it was incriminating. And Cy Ray's the first to look at this data and realize, no, this actually is exculpatory. Interesting comment. I have no comment on that comment.
Because we obviously don't know what he's looking at, but it's very interesting to see him come out that strong, and a lot of people, I believe, felt similarly.
Yeah.
So Conley and Sandra Adams. Quite personally, I don't think Judge is confused. He was quite right when he says he does not have power to make such decisions of this case. Come to think of it, this is the first time I've ever heard a judge utter these words, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is the judge perhaps acting under directive, or are there influential people behind the scenes who have the power to sway the judicial system? Is this case bigger than Bryan Kohberger? Who or what are they protecting? Because I've watched this case since the beginning, and I'm convinced of BK's innocence, and nothing will make me believe otherwise, which is a very strong opinion to have. We talked about it before. I'm sorry, I'm getting trying to get this in ideal reading condition. And then Bonita says, well said, makes you wonder who's making all these calls. The judge needs to be removed along with the prosecutor, and they all need to be locked up. Brian K., they're the ones committing a crime. So I don't think it helps for a lot of viewers' perspectives. I think a lot of people already have a lot of distrust. And then when you hear with everything that's been going on with the school and the book and the $1 million crisis and the regular meeting with the police, I can understand that. Unfortunately, that can build up on some people's concerns. I don't necessarily think that Judge's working with the school. I think that I want to believe that he is doing his best to handle this case, but I also understand that from what we've seen going on with this case, a lot of people are frustrated, and a lot of people want him to step in and want him to do more, and aren't getting that. So I can understand where people feel really strongly that something has to be incredibly wrong.
Yeah, in the at the risk of getting a lot of angry comments down below, in the judge's defense, I think what he meant to say, and he's got a lot of stuff on his plate. He's got other cases. We talked about the jurisdiction of that court. He's got a lot of different cases to deal with, and so he may not have been really using the best words to say it. But I believe in his defense, what he meant to say was, this case is, if there's a conviction, the case is going to go up on appeal. And so they're going to take a look at every single thing that he says, every single ruling that he makes, every word of every order. And so I think that's what he meant. I think that's what the judge meant. I think he meant, look, I have powers that are given to me by the statutes and the Constitution in the state of Idaho and the Constitution of the United States, which overrides everything. But so he is given a certain amount of power. If he goes outside of that, he's going to have a problem when the case goes to appeal if there's a conviction. And no judge really wants to be found to have made an error. No judge wants that. So in his defense, I think that's what he meant. Whether he articulated that as clearly as he should have is another subject for a different day. But, so I think that's what he meant and it certainly has gotten a lot of commentary.
Yeah, and I definitely think with this whole case, a lot of, and with any case in general, it's how people present themselves and how people articulate themselves are have huge impacts.
Okay, so this next comment is from Ghosts Live. Okay, and it's not even Halloween yet. I'm really getting disgusted with where this case is going. It is going and touching on going against a person's rights according to the Constitution. For the judge to say that there are overestimating his power just blew me away. For the judge to say they are overestimating his power just blew me away. He needs to take charge of his courtroom. It's almost like they are setting it up so that Bryan wins at the appellate level, which makes me wonder just what are they hiding in Moscow, Idaho? Well, I already commented on what the judge had said, so I don't really have any further comment about that.
Steve G, this is from Christy Ann. Steve G claims to know more than the prosecution, but he, his daughter, and Kay's grandmother on Facebook are mocking the defense. And the grandmother was making threats to Ann Taylor. I'm so sorry for their loss, but what a, you know. I observed the other three families are away from social media, experiencing grief, not bothering anyone, making threats. And I want to comment on that in a situation like this, which obviously everybody's doing things differently and handling. So he is someone who has tech experience and tech information. And I think that it's reasonable that someone that has a history in tech is going to have more experience and more knowledge about these kinds of things than the prosecution. I think that it makes sense that in such a public case, when you have everybody going after you, because it's just like, it's not even necessarily the family going out of their way. You need to keep in mind that when something's on social media, when something's in the news, they're probably getting so much harassment in the first place. So imagine needing to, you're trying to grieve over what happened, but then also seeing things that are putting up red flags. It's a lot. And then you have 1.5 million people online harassing you. So similar with the comments, normally we try to be kind and respectful to people, especially in this situation where these are people that are grieving and in a very difficult situation, and they're trying to be involved in getting justice for their family member.
Yeah, I'm going to leave this comment alone, and I would hope that our viewers would leave the Gonsalves family alone. People grieve differently, and it's tough. It's tough. So I really don't have any comment about this. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't be anyone. What is it? Okay, this is like deciphering those crazy license plates they have. Don't
be hating anyone.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
With the cute little dog face.
Sometimes
exactly. We don't hate anyone.
Leave me alone. Okay. Don't be hating anyone. Wouldn't withholding Brady evidence make it more likely the case would be successfully appealed? Yeah. No wonder this case isn't going anywhere if the judge doesn't even understand his own powers and tools to compel sanction in a hearing on motions to compel. Okay, then Julie Snuffin. He's afraid to go against the club, in my opinion. And then Vivian A. Marie, DP death penalty cases are automatically, and that's true. Yeah, death penalty cases, if there's a conviction, there's an automatic appeal. Even if there's not, somebody's going to file a notice of appeal. So, I mean, that's just what you do.
Yeah, that's something Angie's mentioned before. It's, you got to do it, especially in a situation that's this grave, and goes back to the judges, what he can and can't do about, getting the death penalty off the table. So I have the Cherokee Rose. I'm hearing people say that Cyree told Lana yesterday, which this is last week, at a crime con, that his work for Bryan Kohberger is pro bono. If that is for true, considering that he's never worked or testified to defense in any previous cases, it would seem that he's trying to make a strong statement that he firmly believes in Kohberger's innocence. Sarah responds, I watched and he did say it. He said he's been working pro bono on cases since 2021. And then Othel Lewis says, I don't think that's what he's saying. He said the things that Lee has are missing things to make it correct. He's reserving his opinion as to who is correct. If Ellie adds missing evidence, they could be right and he would uphold it. He only testified that things were missing, which a defense needs. And I do want to say, Cy Ray is a human like any of us. He is, an expert. He's being called as an expert in his field. And how he feels, he may feel one way or another, but that shouldn't impact what anybody else is thinking. That being said, things like working pro bono um are things that are impacting the public's opinion. And I'm not saying things one way or another. With peace and love, comments don't come from me. I love you guys. Hello. I'm just with every comment I would like to try to present every side and every angle. uh People always feel really strongly one way or another, and there's a lot of gray area in a situation like this.
I really don't have any comment. I don't have any comment to make about the man. He likes to cook, apparently. But anyone who wraps asparagus in candied bacon. Next comment. Let's go to the next one.
So I believe, okay, so we have at least one more. Did you want to read Lisa's comment?
Lisa Boone, thanks for commenting. Lisa, you are a regular viewer. We appreciate that. And she says, isn't it illegal for a prosecutor to withhold exculpatory evidence while they're violating Brady or any evidence? That's a complicated question. I mean, if they are, and Ann Taylor went through Idaho's rule of criminal discovery 16. Rule 16A in Idaho requires that they provide all exculpatory evidence. And then 16B requires that they turn over all evidence that is requested and that they turn it over within 14 days. So Ann Taylor has submitted over 10 motions requesting discovery. There are actually 15 requests for discovery. And then right now there are 2 motions to compel outstanding. Won't this end up being a mistrial due to Brady law? Well, attorneys do fight over discovery. It does happen. I'm not going to justify it. There are corrective things that can be done. The trial, as we sit here recording this episode today, is a year out. Discovery deadlines are coming up in September for the prosecution and January of 2025 for the defense. And so, all of this can be corrected. But we had talked about a case on our channel, probably a couple of months ago, where in the middle of the trial, now they're trying the case in the middle of the trial, and it came out that the state police had withheld exculpatory evidence, whether it was intentional or just a screw up. They had withheld exculpatory evidence. And so a mistrial was declared in the middle of that trial. And then a year or more went by, a couple years went by, and the case had to be retried. And the Supreme Court of that state, New Hampshire, sanctioned the prosecution by saying, all that evidence that you withheld, you may not use it on retrial. The defense can use it. The defense can bring it up, but you mayn't use that evidence that you withheld before the trial. So, yeah, there are sanctions. Who knows what's going to happen in this case? Maybe we're just in the middle of discovery fights. I've been involved in litigation where there were discovery battles and, it all got ironed out before trial. But again, this is a death penalty case. So if something happens like in the case that I just discussed, all bets are off. So then that was Lisa Boone. Then Black Stump said, those decisions are up to the judge who will not play by the rules. And then Viviana, that's a pretty name, Viviana Marie says, discovery deadline isn't until September. Well, I just said that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're going to have to wait and see what happens, but we're going to hope that there's no exculpatory evidence that's being hidden and that Ann Taylor gets the stuff that she needs, that this is not going to be ridiculously delayed or postponed or any of this just nonsense. A lot of this to me, obviously I'm not a legal professional, but with just how easy it is to transfer information, a lot of this is just like just take everything. Like I can't even imagine being in this situation. It's just like if you keep asking me for stuff here, like take it. As if you have a strong case, if you are solid in your foundation, transparency, honesty, like I don't know. And maybe I'm not thinking like an attorney. Tina B, a longtime subscriber, probably one of our first subscribers, if I had to guess. I feel like she's been around since we had under 1,000.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Tina.
We appreciate it.
Syre would not be involved unless he knew he was on the right side because he's seen an updated to prove it. He stated on his YouTube channel that this is how he operates now. Ever since he basically helped the bad guy get away with something because he was not able to see everything. He wouldn't have helped if he had known who he was helping. He's going to be able to prove that BK wasn't there or he would not be here. And that kind of goes with the comments that we've seen before where people are just like, it's nice at least to see that this is someone that people are holding in high esteem. I don't know the guy. It seems like he has a good track record. And, I think as humans, we generally want to do the right thing. And this person, especially because he's a YouTuber, content creator, people, you feel like you know someone, and I'm sure he is a wonderful, excellent person, and I can understand this perspective of, he knows what he's doing. I don't know him very well, but it seems like he's got a lot of people that are very confident in him.
Yep. I really don't have anything else to say about the guy.
Except for his cooking habits. Yeah.
No, I'm very disappointed. I know I said it before, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I mean, it's hard to get a good idea from someone who's only examined directly. There should have been some cross-examination in that hearing that he appeared at. And so, a lot of times cross-examination brings out, fleshes out someone's true character, because I mean, anybody can prepare, and I don't mean this anything at all against Syre. Don't comment below, oh, you're biased. I don't mean anything bad about the guy at all. I'm just saying that a lot of times the truth comes out on cross-examination. A lot of times somebody's true character comes out on cross-examination. A lot of times, anyone, like I started to say before, anyone can prepare a shtick. I mean, before our episodes, here's our outline for one of the episodes that we just did. We prepared that. I would like to think that because we prepared it and reviewed it before we went on, and then we executed it and put it all together, I would like to think we did a pretty good job. And my point is that anyone with preparation can prepare a good presentation. But then someone on the other side can take a look at that and say, hey, as you viewers do, you take our stuff. So that's, I hate to keep harping on the point, but without cross-examination, we really don't have a good view of how now he might have been great. He might have hit a grand slam. He might have hit the ball right out of the park. He might have been fantastic and won the World Series. But my point is, we don't know. So that's really why I'm kind of reserving my comment about it. I really do. And if you want to bash me down below, you won't be the first one.
Yeah, I mean, I think without the cross-examination, you have a good point where, I mean, you as an attorney, you're like, you can't get a good read on him, but at the same time, as a average everyday person, the fact that he's not questioned on anything kind of comes off as they didn't have the guts to question him, which comes off as that he's right. And, obviously this isn't the actual trial itself, and especially something so public like this, it looks bad just to not do the cross-examination. It really, everybody in the comments, you guys, if you're watching Syre's videos, you're going to have to comment, you guys, you got to come on the About the Law podcast, talk about your cooking. But I understand where these comments are coming from. I understand these feelings, and I agree with you where they really needed to do that cross-examination.
Yep, and there are some cases that go into detail, and he has his own YouTube channel. So that's it for our comments.
Yeah, okay. Tina was the last comment that I grabbed from that video. So you guys have to make sure to leave us some nice and juicy comments down below. And what do you think? It's interesting. seeing what you guys kind of hone in on, with the judge saying he knows where his powers start and end or whatever. A lot that stood out to us, so it's really fun and interesting seeing how it stands out to you guys and how you interpret it, and really getting into that.
Well, I did offer my comments, and like I said, at the risk of people jumping down my throat, judges do have limited powers. I mean, I'm critical of the fact that there was a reluctance to really issue an order to compel when I think it's really appropriate. I really think that the evidence they're talking, especially when at one of the earlier hearings, after the defense team for Bryan Kohberger had been asking for evidence and asking for evidence and asking for evidence, to the point where they then had to file a motion to compel, and it came out in the open hearing on the motion to compel that Detective Mowry hadn't even been asked until the day before the hearing for the evidence. And that's just wrong. That's crazy. I think that's maybe one of the reasons why Bill Thompson has been so quiet in the last couple of hearings, because that's just wrong. And then to go on the stand and be untruthful, I'll say, about the fact that the cast vis doesn't keep a log when it now appears that it does keep a log. I think that there's a lot of splaining to be done on the part of the state, but I mean, so put that over here. A judge does have limited powers. A judge can't just do anything. I think the judge should be more proactive in terms of dealing with these motions to compel, and maybe he will be. We don't know. We haven't seen the order yet, and if it's coming out as we're recording this, we'll have to do another episode. But I mean, judges do have limited powers. I've gotten to know a couple of judges, and they go to a lot of training. At least in my jurisdictions, they go to a lot of training and seminars, and they're constantly brought up to date on developments in the law. And a judge has limited powers. You can't just I can't just order anything I want if I'm a judge. So that was his context. And I mentioned before, within one of the things that a judge really does not want to do is have judicial error be the reason for a retrial, because these trials cost a lot of money. I mean, we're in week 6 of the Karen Reed trial. The Alex Murdoch trial lasted 6 weeks. Oh my gosh, I lost track of Chad Daybell. I lost track of how long that one took. They got their conviction, and they finally sentenced the guy to the death penalty. And of course, that's going to be appealed unless. But I lost track of how long that trial was. So these trials go on forever. So a judge does not want the reason for a retrial to be his judicial error, because these things are costly. I mean, think about it. Bringing in dozens and dozens of witnesses and having weeks of testimony. It's just, so I kind of see it his way. Blast me down in the comments all you want, but that's how I see it.
We're all human. Everybody in this case is human.
Oh, and the other point is he can't defend himself. Well, if you're a judge, you can't comment on your cases. He can't, people love to bash the guy. And I've been critical of it myself. So I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I understand that, but I'm really not, because if you're a judge, you may not start commenting on your cases. He can't go on his YouTube channel and start saying, "Oh, you YouTubers, you're all wrong," or "Oh, you people, you leave me alone." He can't do that. So anyhow, all right, okay. Is that it for the comments?
That is it for the comments. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to be kind and respectful. We want to hear what you have to say. Let us know if you love this video. Share with your friends.
Yep, all that good stuff. And we hope that you have a great week. You have been watching About the Law, a production of the law offices of Andrew D. Myers in Methuen in the Merrimack Valley of Massachusetts, and in Derry, just outside of Manchester, New Hampshire. Remember to click the like and subscribe buttons down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to share it with your friends and others. If you'd like to talk to me about an injury case, a car accident, a slip and fall, a serious bodily injury case, or some other case, please feel free to contact me. I'd love to talk to you. You can contact us through my website at attorney-myers.com. myers.com. We have a contact us block, or you can call on one of the telephone numbers we've given there, or you can email me at andrew@attorney-myers.com. The foregoing is offered for informational purposes only. It is not intended as and does not constitute legal advice. Laws vary widely from state to state. You should rely only on the advice given to you during a personal consultation by a local attorney thoroughly familiar with state laws and the area of practice in which your concern lies. This podcast must be and hereby is labeled advertisement in some jurisdictions.
And that's that.
And that's that.
And that's that.
I know I'm going to hear it about my comments about the judge. I know I'm going to hear it.
You know, I consider myself someone who doesn't have super strong opinions one way or the other. I'm trying to keep an open mind. And then I have to catch myself because it's just like, I don't know what you guys are going to come to my neck about. Like make a comment in passing, and then you guys are going to, Lainey Law said this is like Lainey Law and Attorney Myers with peace and love. We're just people.
Most of the comments are positive, but there was one, and we talked about this before. There was one we got on one of our other episodes about Karen Reed. And the issue was whether, no, it wasn't an issue. It was very clear. It was very clear. There wasn't an issue. But one of our commenters said something that was just untrue. And he said, "You were wrong, Attorney Myers. You were wrong. It was this way." And no, it wasn't. And I was out. Especially this time of year, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful day. I'm out doing yard work and working in the garden, and I'm, having an iced tea. And so I go in, and this person had commented twice, "You're wrong, and you don't know what you're talking about." And then he got, I think he just got someone else with a different name to say the same thing. So there's 3 comments that we were wrong. And not only that, then again, I'm not watching. I probably should admit this. I'm not watching the comments 24/7. And then he said, "You were wrong," and I'm sitting here. He was taunting me. I'm sitting. I'll wait while you make a correction. I'll wait. So I finally went in and I found this comment, and I knew that we were right. But just to double check, I went and I found the time stamp of the testimony under oath in the court. And I posted that, and I said, excuse me, I wasn't wrong. Here's the timestamp confirming the fact, just what the facts were. And the facts were clear, and the facts were obvious, and it withstood, multiple questioning. And so I said that, and I wrote my response, and I put the timestamps in, and the person just backed away. They deleted their comment. So that was kind of chicken scratchings.
It's funny hearing Andrew's experience with the comment versus my experience with the comment, because I'll look through the comments. I like to see what you guys say. You're gassing me up a lot of the time. I'm like, Slay, thank you. Hearts out to anybody who's nice to me. But I saw this comment, and usually I'm just scrolling, looking, if something's a little longer, I won't stay on it too long. But this one just stood out to me separately without even input for Andrew. And I was looking at this, and I'm like, I don't know. It's a little easier for me. I let it roll off my back. I'm like, so something seems off. It's just like, I don't think we were mistaken.
No, we
but
weren't. Absolutely, we're not. I'll stand by that from now until eternity. I mean, and it's just, I'm a big boy. I can take it. If you don't agree with something that we've said or done, that's one thing. But to taunt us and say that we're wrong when we're not wrong. Now, are we perfect? No. Have we made mistakes? Yes. And it's been pointed out to us? Yes. And do we make a correction? Yeah. But don't taunt us with just rubbish. It's a nice word for it. I mean, because before I ever dreamed of going to law school, I was a reporter. And, when you're a reporter, you get a load of what. You just get it. People don't always agree with you. And then I went to law school, and I learned very quickly that, when you go into court, when you leave after the case is over, half of the people are going to love you and half of the people are going to hate you. And they do make comments. I've heard it all. So you know what? I'm not challenging anybody to say anything, but I've heard it all. So if you're trying to hurt my feelings, Go to another channel.
I think like the tone at which someone tries to correct you is very indicative to whether or not they know what they're talking about. If you're rude about it, we're already questioning. It's just like it's just like people who usually are trying to make a correction in an honorable way are usually polite about it. So it's like as long as the blows start coming, it's hard to respect anybody's opinion if they're being mean to you, even if they're, whatever the case is.
They're trying to ruin my day. I kind of told a story before about when I was a local TV reporter. We would roll through the city with the cars that had the TV station's logo on it. And you go to a red light and somebody'd roll down their window and they'd say, "You suck!" So I've heard it all, and I've heard worse. I've had people call the general manager and say, "Hey, he said this or he said that, or he doesn't know what he's talking about, and I want him to." It's like, you know what? I've heard it all. I've heard it all, and I've never had anybody, tell me that I made a major bluff. So, I run it right down the middle, and sometimes it's hard, but you know what? You're not going to hurt my feelings. And I'm not trying to taunt anybody to try and hurt my feelings.
This isn't an invitation. Thank you guys so much.
So we do have fun, but I guess it's a wrap. It's a wrap, right?
It's a wrap.
No tunnels. No
wrap
tunnels
sandwich. No tunnels, only wraps. Caesar wraps.